I've been a loan officer in the Valley since 2008, worked in mortgages for almost 20 years now, since 2002. And what we're going to be talking about today, guys, is how to maximize conversion in a shifting market. So because I've worked in the industry for such a long time, I've worked in before the boom, during the recession, during the recovery, and then now whatever we're going to call this. Okay, so I have seen markets shift quite a bit, and I will tell you that one of the important things to do is to learn what the shift looks like and then learn how to maneuver. So just to give you guys some context about what I'm talking about is that we have been in a market where the amount of demand has overwhelmed the entire real estate industry. We have gotten super competitive, multiple bids, paying way over asking price, way over appraisals, we're waiving contingencies, and that's because we've had historically low inventory. Over the last couple of weeks though, guys, inventory is increasing about 1,000 homes per week, which is pretty significant, right? We went from 4,000 homes to 6,000 homes, which is still dramatically undersupplied. But the thing is that in 12 months, 18 months, we should be back to, potentially a buyer's market, okay? And so because of that, right, what work do we have to put in today, right, that will make us convert and still produce at the same rate? Because we live in an environment right now where we're still dealing with those massive bidding wars, multiple bids per one house. And so we have to work with those conditions and then also market and prepare for a new marketplace. Does that make sense? So the key to this, guys, is going to be through understanding where your time goes. Because the thing is, we can only multiply our activities, right, so much because we all are constrained by the same things, which is time. We all have the same, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, right, as anyone else. And so what I'm going to teach you guys is how to maximize your focus and what things produce the highest results, okay? So in a market like the one we are in today, some of the things that I have seen personally is that I've received the same amount of leads that I've always ever gotten, same amount of pre-approvals, and yet my closings are 30% down than where they were last year. And the reason for that is because my clients are primarily buyers, can't get their offers accepted. Okay, and so in order for me to have the same success that I had last year, what do I have to be doing? And the thing is, I actually have to get double the amount of leads, right, and throw more spaghetti at the wall. Okay, so if you guys are not seeing the type of success that you had last year, right, that's one thing that can change. Now, how do you double the amount of leads? Anyone have any ideas? Okay, well, you start with your database, right? Who do you know, right? So every current client, right, should be able to give you at least one other client. Oh my, thanks. I thought he said I couldn't hear me. I'm like, how could you hear me? It's outside. They have great hair. Jeremy has really good hair today.
Yeah.
All right. So every client, guys, just so you know, knows at least 3 other people in the marketplace to buy a home, right? Do you ask your current clients to send you business, while they're in process? Mm-hmm. Okay. How often? Every time?
Usually at final walkthrough.
Okay. So here's the thing. Have you guys ever bought a car? Mm-hmm. Everyone bought a car? When do you notice that make and model most? When you're searching for the car or when you bought the car?
I think when it's searching.
It's searching, 100%. It's called a Reticular Activator. What you set your mind to, the brain focuses on and sees it everywhere. Have you ever played the slug bug game? Mm-hmm. Right? Same jam. So you want to get them all throughout the buying process. From literally, after your first consultation all the way to close. Once you wait till closing, guys, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. They've now gotten what they wanted. They're no longer talking about housing. They're no longer searching about housing. It's no longer the topic of their conversation. And so you've missed the opportunity, okay? So start that earlier. So try to double, right, with the same clients you have. The other thing is organizing your database. So how many of you guys have an organized database right now? Yeah, I was going to say you better say that. Okay. All right. Now, these 2 girls are also influenced by me a lot. But if you don't have that, that's step one, right? So nothing can be completed in this class if you don't have an organized and sorted database. And it's not just like getting an alphabetized list of contacts, it's sorting them by referral frequency. So how often are these people going to be sending you business, right? So I maximize my time by working with people that are in a position to refer me business and are willing to refer me business, right? I don't just call friends and family who I like, I do, but not in my prospecting hours, because if they don't have influence, if they're not going to be an active referral partner, I'm just wasting my time. Okay, so again, spending the right time with the right people. So here's how I actually break up my database. So you go to this page, it's my referred partner qualifications. And so there's a variety of types of accounts. So the first one that if you guys can nail at least one of these is a waterfall account. And a waterfall account is one main referral source that impacts multiple other referral sources. So for a lender, okay, that would be I work with a team lead, right? So the lead works with me and then they get their agents to work with me. Does that make sense? That is highly impactful because that one influential relationship influences others. Okay, so like a waterfall. Then you have what's called a channel account. So a channel account is similar to a waterfall account, except this is more like a corporate organization, so maybe an HR department. So no one person that influences, but like you can create a partnership to get multiple deals, okay? Now, my business primarily centers around having multiple waterfall accounts because again, I'm trying to maximize my time and efforts. So as a realtor, I would go after as many channel and waterfall accounts as you can. HR directors, divorce attorneys, recruiters, right? This is all great places to go. The next category is probably people that you can think of off the top of your head, but these are raving fans. So these are people who like absolutely love you, and you mention the word home and they're screaming, Kristen! They're screaming, Sarah. They don't even need to be saying, like, I need a realtor. They're just talking about a house. Oh my God, you should have used my friend Sarah, right? That's a raving fan. Those people will make up like 1 to 2 closed sales for you a year, okay? Then there's a promoter. So a promoter is somebody who, if they know that there's a need, so somebody posts, I need a good realtor on Facebook, they're gonna refer you, okay? And then there's prospective, so people that are in a position of influence are willing to refer you but have not referred you yet, okay? So these are the categories I care about. Now, clients that you know, people that you've met, people that are not active referral partners, most people, they're in this like weird ambiguous status. It's called a passive referral partner. So they will only refer you when asked directly, okay? I'm gonna give you an example. I once pre-qualified a lady at an auction in Tucson, okay? So I live in Phoenix, I had to drive to Tucson, I did this auction, and taking her application, I realized that my mother was her supervisor, okay? And when I asked my mom, I'm like, hey, you know this lady was buying a house in Arizona, she's going to an auction, could have showed up with a pre-qualification letter, and you did not refer me. She said, well, she didn't ask me, and second, like, I don't want to be embarrassed in case it does not work out, okay? Now, what's super helpful about this is that I love my mom, clearly, but I'm not gonna spend any time marketing to her. Okay, she'll get my newsletter, she'll get invited, the Christmas pop by or whatever, but like I'm never gonna depend on her for referrals, right? And so like that's how you have to qualify. So anybody that I know, done business with, people that are not active referral partners, people that I don't really know well, they go into what I call a marketing list. So we don't dump the contacts, but it's like they get my email newsletter, they get invited to my lives, they're on my social media, but I rarely have to spend additional effort outside of how I'm supporting my best people with them. So to give you context, I have a marketing list that contains 3,000 people in it, and I close about 200 deals a year just from those passive activities, okay? So it can be very lucrative. The list for me is very long. I have had a long-standing newsletter for almost a decade now, so like you have to be providing value and things, so it takes a while. But if you do not have an active newsletter that you email weekly or monthly to, that is your personal content, so you wrote it, it's your expertise, right? That's step 2. That is an action item, right, that you can start doing today that will have maximum results for your current main clients and then your prospective ones. All right, Then guys, I want you guys to compose a list of business people, right, that are people that you guys can have a business relationship with, right, like divorce attorneys, CPAs, recruiters, right, people that you can send referrals to and they send referrals back. And then I want you guys to identify who is an influencer within your community, right, influencer in your friend group. Like we all know those people, you go to the party and they're introducing you to everyone. That's an influencer. We know PTA mom, influencer. Pastor at a church, influencer. So people who have it, and it guys, they have to have an audience. Like they have to have a network. I've met very outgoing people with no friends. They do not count as an influencer. Okay? All right. And then you guys want to, again, categorize all of your current and past clients because, again, like I said, this is low-hanging fruit to double your business immediately. Any questions on this? Okay. The next couple pages just shows you how to organize it, right? So this is what an account pyramid looks like. I update this literally every quarter, okay? And because for me, again, my time is literally the most important thing that you have. It's like the one thing that you like cannot get more of. And if you do your own hourly rate, guys, you'll want to pay attention to where you spend your time. All right, so this is also something that I do quarterly on a regular year, but this is like my business tracker. I will tell you that I have actually started reviewing this once a month because this market is so different than anything I'm used to. You know, and when you do not have the results that you're wanting to, you have to lean on data. Okay, so a couple things, because they don't teach us business metrics when we go to real estate school. Okay, so you have to know what a leading measure is and what a lagging measure is. Do you guys know what that is? Okay, so leads are leading measures. So we have to know how many leads we get and what our conversion rate is in order to know, right, how many leads we need and appointments we have to set. Okay, so this happens before the closings. Okay, a lagging measure is the closings. Okay, most people concentrate on how many closings, but they don't concentrate on any of the leading measures, right? Another leading measure is prospecting. So I can tell you with certainty that if I make 60 great conversations a week and I see 15 people at a minimum a week, I will generate about 88 leads a week. Okay, that's how down to a science this is. And I know that because my team will convert at a minimum of 42%, because that's where it has to be, they're typically in the 50s. Okay, if my team is converting at minimum 42%, I should get X number of pre-approvals and that I will close with that 1,000 deals. Okay, so my metrics, 88 leads a week, 30 contracts, 40 pre-approvals. Okay, and so I check that daily to make sure that we are on track. Okay. Now, the next thing that I do, guys, so I put all this here, again, I'm quantifying my database, I'm looking at my commissions, my average sales price, I'm making sure that everything is good, right? I'm also looking at where my referral sources are coming from, right? And then where my closing is coming from. So one of the biggest time sucks, guys, is sometimes we have a big lead source that does not result in a big lead closings, okay? So this happens to me, quite honest. So we work with a variety of real estate teams. They market in all kinds of different places. We had one team that was infiltrating my team with tons of leads, which sounds like, oh my God, what an opportunity. Except they had a very low conversion rate, which meant that my team's time was being sucked up on doing this amount of work with no results. So unfortunately, that lead, like we ended up letting go of that lead source because it just wasn't time effective for our goals, right? And so sometimes this gets off balance. So I've seen people also do this with open houses. So they do a bunch of open houses, but they're not closing leads from the open houses, but they're spending all of this time at open houses. So a couple things that you can do. You can look at your approach, right? What's up with your approach, right? What things can you tweak, right? And I would recommend, like, for me, when I'm doing activities, I give it 90 days for me to see results. Okay, within 90 days, if I'm still generating the leads but not the closings, I give it another 90 days and switch my strategy. After 6 months, I typically will dump it unless I see that I have a lot of things in the pipeline. Does that make sense? Okay, so you're wanting to identify, make sure your primary closing source is the same as your primary closing leads. If not, we got to look at that. And then what we want to do is make sure that all of the systems, all the marketing, all the prospecting supports both your primary and your secondary. Okay, so people will get like primary is their sphere, secondary is Zillow, right? So you can still market the same way to Zillow clients, right? We can still send them the same newsletters, invite them to the same lives, and friend them on social media. Like, these are all things that you could do that work great for your database as well. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes? Okay. You're giving me such a stoic face. So I was like,
It's focused.
no, I love it. I just, just want to make sure you love it. All right. So then, guys, this calculation right here at the bottom will show you guys how to calculate your metrics. Okay? And then what we have to then identify are what supporting tools do we need to make sure that this plan is effective. Okay? So right away, you guys need a CRM, hands down. You need metric reports. So this could be just like a sheet of paper, which I'll show you, right? So a greatness tracker or a lead tracker, right? So you can at least see the efforts of your results and make sure you're doing a tally. Like, it could be that simple, but you have to have CRM, you have to have reports, and then, like, do you need any tools to actually, like, do the open house or do the prospecting? Like, what resources do you need? Okay? All right, so minimum quarterly basis. I think in this market, you gotta do it monthly. Okay? Other thing that you guys have to pay attention to is the lead closing cycle has been extended. So we used to be like, if you got a Zillow lead, it would close like within 60 days. Like, those were such hot leads. And because of how competitive the market is, right, we're saying 90 days, even up to 180 days. Our sales cycle for an internet lead right now is 239 days from when we got the lead to when it closes. Okay, so a couple of missed opportunities for us that we were able to catch at least earlier on, right, is that we saw that our follow-up systems were not long enough. Okay, not to mention, they weren't sympathetic to what people are going through in the marketplace. Like, it was a text message that said, hey, how's the home shopping going?
Oh, terrible.
Terrible. And these were the text messages we were getting. And then you're like, oh my God, terrible? Like, we gotta talk about that. Like, what do you mean terrible? And so those are the things that, like, we have to pay attention to. One, is the messaging right? Is the frequency right? Is the length of it right? And then also we have to categorize differently. So most real estate agents that I have met, most loan officers that I know, they qualify leads on hot, warm, cold. Is that you? Okay. It has to be on, like, one stage. So where are they at in the process, right? Did they get pre-qualified? Are they in a home search? When's your next appointment, right? Are they within 3 months, immediate, 6 months, 9 months? Like, what does this look like? We have to be really in depth, because if you have a person who isn't going to buy a home for like 6 months to a year, right, and you had 4 other people that were immediate, are you going to spend the same time and attention on the person 6 months from now or the immediates? Mm-hmm. Right? But the thing is that most of you guys don't even know who the immediate people are, because everyone's categorized as hot, warm, and cold. Okay? And most of the time, if they're interested and you have them on a home search, you have them as hot. Right? And so we really got to go deeper and figure out frequency. And then also, like, just so you know, like, just because they said 6 months also does not mean that it is 6 months. So just generally, people will say that. We check in once a month. This is another, like, pro tip. Check in once a month for everyone that says that they're on hold. Anyone with, like, plans change, guys, and the second that people know that they can qualify, I promise you, 12 months becomes 6 months, becomes 3 months, becomes now. Okay? It's just, it seems unknown when they're going through the, the initial consultation, and once they know it, again, that reticular activator goes to work, and now they're seeing their dream home that they didn't expect to find now. Okay? Happens all the time. So this is an example, guys, again, of all of the stages that we have, and then an example of how we categorize leads. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to talk about workflows. This is super important. So just so you guys know, the average real estate agent will follow up with a lead for 30 days. Okay? And that's it. If the lead does not get into qualified status, chances are it's just a lost lead, and then when the agent doesn't have any current business, they'll start calling their best leads, okay? The average loan officer calls a lead twice. So you give them a lead, they call it twice, okay? So you have your best conversion results after 8 contact attempts, just so you guys know, 8 contact attempts. All right, now, they're a little bit flaky if they, respond, but it's 8 contact attempts. Between 4 and 6 contact attempts, though, they're pretty, they're just as if they answered on the first round. So it's super important for you guys to make sure that you have a long enough follow-up system with a number of touches. My team follows up with leads, guys, 16 times, right? And before we'll say that something is, unresponsive, and then we still have a long-term follow-up process for those people, okay? So we do want to pay attention to that. The ones that for sure you have to nail down is lead to contact, have to nail it down. You also need to do pre-approved to contract, right? Because you have to keep them engaged once they've said yes, right? We know it's a long sales cycle. What's the longest buyer that you guys have been working with right now?
4 or 5 months?
4 or 5 months, right? So again, what does that look like? And it can't just be the same, how's it going, how's it going, how's it going, right? So we have to continue to provide value in different ways, okay? And then the next one is your follow-ups during a process, and then what does post-closing look like? So post-closing is a really great way, guys, again, to maintain your database, to grow your pipeline. It's really great. Most people, though, don't really have an ongoing campaign. They'll have inconsistent pop buys, right? Maybe they did a pie event one year, maybe they do Christmas photos the next year. Now they're doing a Valentine's Day party. It's just very inconsistent. Clients don't know what to expect from you. And so this is an example of all of the touches that we do on our team too. But it should be a minimum, Gary Keller says, 36 touches. I mean, he's one of the most brilliant people, I think, in real estate, period. And so I think that it's, essential that we follow the plan or at least improve on it, right? So I would say 36 touches. Now, Daniel Barraza, who I think is also a super amazing real estate agent that you guys can look up to here, he does a 52 touch program, weekly, as people get something. And I will tell you that I've never seen anyone market their database so well. So if you're looking for a good example here, it's Daniel Barraza.
So he sends a gift once a week?
Not a gift, he does an item of value. So here's the thing that you guys also have. So my weekly newsletter is an item of value.
Okay.
It doesn't cost me anything. I'm not sending anything. It does time. It costs me time. And obviously MailChimp. But that's something. HomeBot is something, right? An anniversary call, a birthday call, birthday gift, Popeyes for certain holidays, right? Market update videos, right? These are all items of value, and you can do something every week. Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a gift every week. That would be super expensive.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I, based on my client list, I track people's life events, and they definitely get gifts from me based on life events.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I would look at this and I would say, what things can I do? Now, a lot of people get really overwhelmed. This looks like a lot of stuff, right? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break it down for you for how I make this really simple. Okay, so I know that my number one item that I have to do for my business is this newsletter. It's just non-negotiable, have to do it. It keeps me, one, current with the market that I need to be current with, because why? I deal with clients and real estate agents who ask me questions about the market. So regardless, right, I'm going to be studying that because it's my job. Okay, do you guys have to look up properties daily? Right? Are you guys looking at what's happening with interest rates? Right? When I send out my newsletter, do you read them? Right? So this is you guys, again, researching for your job. Okay, so we didn't add anything new, you already do it. Now, the adding new is going to be writing the newsletter. Okay, it takes me about 2 hours to write a newsletter. Okay, now, once I've written that newsletter, though, I then can make a video, right? Because now I've written it, I know it well, it comes off, I'm just with my iPhone, I can make a video, right, that then I post on YouTube, right? I can take little clips and make them reels, okay? So that is something that I can do. And then my newsletter is consistent, the video is consistent, and then I started hosting a weekly live, where you just go live, and you invite these people to it. Okay, and so nothing really changes, right, from my schedule. It sounds overwhelming, but nothing really changes. HomeBot does all the work.
Yeah.
You just have to sign them up. A birthday call, how hard is it for you to make a birthday call? Right? How hard is it for you to make an anniversary call? It's not that hard. Like once you break it down, guys, it's just one big thing that makes an impact. And then how do you leverage that one thing over and over and over again so that it is not more work for you. Okay, but that is the recipe to a lot of the success that we have, is that I'm just constantly building on the same things. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to give you an example of what reporting looks like. This probably looks like very robust and very detailed, but I look at this once a day and then analyze it once a week and compare it to my last month's results. It's so important, guys, to be able to see this in real time, because the market moves, our businesses move, and like most of the time people find out that they've lost a referral source or that they've lost business way after it's like they could have changed it. So I just want you guys to know, like, super important. This came from a book called Traction. So those of you who are really want to get into metrics, it's by Gino Wickman, because there's a couple of tractions. Go ahead and get that. And then I would look, so this came straight out of their vision tracker. Okay. All right, and lastly, I wanted to show you an example of what a tracking sheet could look like. This is literally just a weekly tracking sheet. So based on what I told you, right, if you were to do 60 conversations a week minimum, like let's just say 5. Let's say 5 really good conversations, which means you're probably calling about 10 people, okay? If you were to get 1 lead or 2, well, my recipe is always 2 leads a day. If your only job was to get 2 leads a day, so 10 per week, right, this is what you would look like, right? This is what you would be tracking. If you guys got 2 leads a day and converted at like 30%, okay, you guys would have your best year ever. Like seriously, like think about that just for 1 second, right? So like 10% conversion on 365 potential leads, right? And we're talking about double, right? That would be 600 and something or 700 something, right? Like is 70 deals your best year ever? Yes? Not your best year ever? I love that. Good job. Okay, so here's my jam, right? Like, have you ever looked at it just like that? Like my job is to get 2 leads every day? Okay, so that's how simple you can make reporting too, right? It could look as simple as this and then just crossing them off and making sure that you have a long-term follow-up support system, okay? Which is why I think it's essential to have a CRM. My personal recommendation, truthfully, is like a follow-up boss. I know a lot of people use like Sync or Boomtown as an IDX, you know, which is great. But the thing is that it doesn't do like all of the reminders to call people. It doesn't do the auto text. There's some shortfalls with that. And so just having something that does like complete workflows, I think makes the job like where you can set it and kind of not forget it. You still have to do it, but you don't have to remember to do it. Okay?
What's the name of that?
Follow-up boss. And then one thing that I do want to point out here, guys, is that oftentimes when we're taking leads, right, because we don't have, like you'll get a lead and it'll be in your car, right, we don't take sufficient notes. Again, having a place like this one says, what's the scenario, right, get the good contact information. The other thing that this asks you to track is actual activity. So when I'm telling you to spend your time in the right places, I also want you to do the right things. And most of the time people have no idea where their business comes from. Like it'll say SOI because this person they met 20 years ago follows them on Facebook and shot them a message. It's like, well, that's a Facebook lead. Okay, if you're not in regular contact with them, that's social media. And we have to know that they sent you a direct message and you should say, hey, what made you think of me? And it's like, oh, well, you're always posting all these videos. Oh, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. So then we know social media and videos was the activity, right? A lot of times also, like, we'll get a lot of outbound call or inbound calls, and that's not prospecting either, right? That's definitely marketing, but like if you ask somebody to repeat that, like you wouldn't even know what to spend your time on, okay? So you want to just make sure that if it's an inbound call, you're asking the additional questions for why they decided to work with you, otherwise it doesn't count. Then the rest of it is like, oh, I made this post, or I made this phone call, I had this pop-by, I did this happy hour, I sat this open house, right? I did door knocking, really important. So then at the end of the quarter, we can go, okay, these are the activities that really had the biggest bang for their buck. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's important, guys, because I just want to wrap this up with, like, we've gone through a lot of things. I do believe that this workbook is comprehensive where you can follow it step by step. If you need any additional help on this, you can email my team, we can set up an appointment, we can go over this. But I do think that the time is critical right now to be paying attention to what a shifting market looks like. So I think that it's gonna get harder before it gets easier. I would already say that this market is amongst, if not the most challenging market I've personally ever worked in. Like, I mean, everyone's fatigued, everyone's in a bad mood. I feel like every listing agent's so fucking cutthroat right now. It's like, you accepted my offer, but you have 10 backups and they're for more money, so cancel. It's like, oh my God, chill. You know, it's like this all the time. The stakes are so high. The cancellation rate for people bidding, because you know they're bidding crazily and then they have like remorse, is insane. So it used to be predictable, now it's like 20 to 30% when it was like 15. You know, this stuff's tough. And I think it's gonna get harder because the media, just so you know, is now starting to talk about what happens when we're in a recession, okay? So right now, we've just experienced 2 years of just complete chaos, right? And we don't know what a normal market is. So remember when I said a balanced market, 16,000 homes, right? It's kind of if we start heading into a buyer's market around 23, right? So you realize that like nobody thinks that's normal anymore. Like people are panicking over 5% rates. Guys, interest rates were in 5% in 2018. That is not that long ago, but it sounds like historic, right? It is. What has seriously changed though is the value of homes, right? The value of homes. So consumer confidence is at its lowest, okay, just so you know. And we're now seeing a shift in the market. And if we're not careful, guys, this will impact our business. Now, I'm not saying that there's a housing crash, and I'm not saying that homes are gonna start losing value, but I am gonna say that our conversations and pulling people off the fence and getting them to move is gonna be a lot of cheerleading and a lot of education. Okay, so a couple things for you guys to know is that during the last 5 recessions, only one of them had values go down. That was the Great Recession. That was actually caused by real estate. Okay, so of the other 4, real estate actually went up in value. Okay, during recessions, interest rates go down. Okay, so it'll be a much more favorable environment for buyers. So anybody who's wanting to drop out now, continue to remind them that, hey, better times are in the future. Okay, now that being said, appreciation is also going to steady up. Okay, when there's more houses on the market, there's not all these crazy bidding wars. We're actually seeing homes stay on the market. There was an article that was reported last month. I think they said that 12% of all homes saw a price reduction. Okay, so again, that's news that's making the market. Builders are saying that they're years behind. You know, so there's like, people are just talking about how this is changing. And so now we will have PTSD conversations because just so you guys know, people's parents lost their homes during the recession, they lost their jobs, they went through bankruptcy, complete financial ruin. And just, I mean, I'm a child of the 80s, 90s, right? And my parents still talked about the Great Depression and they never even lived it. Do you know what I mean? It was their parents' parents. Do you see what I'm saying? And that was so dramatic, but it lasts for 2 generations. So our generation is going, and look, the Great Depression never happened again. And the Great Recession will not happen either again. It'll be something else because we've now done everything we can to prevent those things. So we have no more bad loans. We have 30-year fixed mortgages. Unemployment is the lowest it's ever been. People have the most savings, the lowest debt they've historically actually ever had. This is Googleable. Okay? So people are in a way better financial position than they've ever been. Now there is also news about affordability. Have you heard about affordability? Anyone in this room? You haven't heard that because interest rates are so high, people can't afford homes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That is also making the news quite a bit. That is actually not true. Okay, so just so you guys know, even with rising interest rates, it impacted affordability by 2%. So it went from 29% to 31%, which is well within range of being able to afford your home. What is true, and this is the clarifying statement, what is true is that there isn't enough affordable houses on the market. Okay, So anything below 350,000 is just really unavailable right now, highly competitive. And so there isn't enough affordable housing, which is actually the issue. So if you're talking to anyone that qualifies above that, you have to remind them of that. Okay, this is guys, the stuff you can use in your videos. Okay, so I'm telling you this because I do think that things are going to get a little bit more challenging, and when things get more challenging, we have to cast a wider net. Okay, we have to be more scrappy, provide even more value, because there's probably about 20 to 30,000 real estate and mortgage professionals that should get out, and that will be getting out in the next 18 months. Okay, every time it gets hard, it gets better for us. But if you are not in a position to capture more market share, if you haven't planted the seeds today, right, you will not do that. So if you are marketing now in this class, I'm going to tell you to stop talking about appreciation. Stop talking about how houses just went up 20%, 30%. People who are reminded of the recession are going to be like, oh my God, that person just trying to sell me a house. This is the bubble, okay? Instead, you want to talk about sustainable practices, and you actually want to talk about investment, okay? So a house will double in value. This is a national statistic. Even with the loss of the Great Recession, every 20 years, it doubles in value. So a $300,000 house that you buy now, 20 years from now, will be worth $600,000, okay? In Arizona, it's doubled every 10 years. Okay, so really good stuff for you guys to know. The other thing is, what is their break-even point? So people will buy a $300,000 or $400,000 house. Okay, they're putting 5% down, which is $20,000, and even at an appreciation rate of 5%, which is not double digits, but it's within realm of what will happen. Okay, they will see 100% return on their cash investment, right, in 1 year. Now, if we're including closing costs, probably a year and a half. Okay, what other investment do you know of that has 100% return in such a short period of time? Zero. Do you talk to your clients like this?
No, I want to.
Okay, so another piece of information. The other thing is that we don't talk to them about buying. So there's a lot of people that I see, buy now, you won't be able to afford, right? This is some people's mindset. You don't want to be that person either, because God forbid they buy a house when they're not ready. You will be that guy ripped me off, this guy put me in a bad position, this is the person who ruined my life. Okay, so we start talking about sustainable practices, like looking at your budget, buying when you're ready, okay, versus buy now, you'll never own a home. Okay, I talk to people all the time and I'm like, hey look, it's not today, maybe it's 6 months from now, but here are the things that you have to put in place to be a successful homeowner. Okay, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying let's give it a 6 months, okay? And so that's how you'll have to start talking in your marketing, your newsletters, right? And when you do this enough, right, so it takes 8 times for people to actually realize what your message is. 1, because they don't see it due to the algorithm. 2, because they're listening to other things. But once they get the message and all of a sudden the recession and these changes are way more prevalent, they'll be like, that person knows what to do. I'm going to go with that person, okay? Now I'm going to give you a really good example of what that looks like. So in my business, okay, you talk to probably a ton of loan officers, yes or no? Like people are always calling to try to get your guys' business? No. Okay. I bet you want to talk to my love. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing though. Most people will call you, right? How many loan officers sound like I sound? Okay, that's on purpose, right? How many realtors go, look at my listing, look, check out my open house, right? How many of them give real financial advice? Like very few, right? So this is how you really stand out. So because I have done that, just so you guys know, I now get invited to speak at places. People share my videos. It goes further, right? When people have a challenging client that's on the fence, that doesn't know what to do, they're like, Lizy, can you call them? Or if they have somebody that's really high influence, high net worth, they ask me to call them. Because I have planted that seed over and over and over again, providing value, casting a bigger, wider net, and that's how it's done, right? But it is a long course, and because I understand this now, you have to market for both environments. You have to give people strategies for how to win today and how to win 6 months from now. But this is what is happening. Okay, and what's cool is you came to the class today to learn that and to figure out the best tactics and tools. So I've done this successfully now. This exact system, I've improved on it since 2013. Okay. At the time, I had never closed more than 167 deals. After my first year, I closed 237. My next year was 429 deals. Then 512, 639. Last year, my team closed 1,300 deals. Okay. If you stay consistent, guys, you just win. Consistency, paying attention to the numbers, focusing on prospecting, leading on your leading indicators, right? Marketing effectively, right? This is the recipe to just having phenomenal success and being top in your field. All right. Any questions that I can answer for you guys? I probably overwhelmed you. Okay. Well, can I ask you a question? Did you get value from today?
100%.
Okay. Well, I'm not a motivational speaker. Okay. So I am a loan officer. So if I gave you one thing that got you a new client, I hope that you'll think of me when that referral comes. Okay? So thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
I haven't gotten your newsletters.
I know, I'm going through.
Okay, I was like, who's the last one?
No, I know.
So just send that to No, I didn't, I usually send it out, and in April I didn't. I know. It happens, yeah.
But I have one that's coming up in yeah.
Do you recommend sending a newsletter out at the end of the month?
I should have.
You know what?